Welcome everyone to the next part of my MEGA Marklin review. Today we're going to be looking at this little locomotive here, which was offered with the My Start with Marklin starter set in 2009-2010. But now what's very interesting to look at this locomotive is if there's any one of my locomotives that is a fail, then it's this. And soon we're going to see how a seemingly inconspicuous looking, and as we'll find out, a very old design locomotive can perform so poorly. Alrighty, this is the locomotive from the 29161 starter set, and as I told you, it was the My Start with Marklin starter set. Now I'll show you what it came with. As well as that locomotive, it came with this gondola here, this Haribo carriage here, and the stake car on the right hand side, sorry. Now at first glance, this is just a bigger sort of tank locomotive. We've got the 3 driving axles and 1 pony truck leading us. Now I've got some very nice detailing and design here. As well as having a typical sort of relief, we've got these added things such as boilers, we've got the whistles here, we've got small things like a bell even included, as well as, we've got steam cylinders here, which as I'll show you are actually something very interesting. And if you have a look down the locomotive, we've got this very interesting cutaway design where the body sort of is thinner at the front and it gets thicker at the back to accommodate the side tanks. But overall, quite a detailed model, and if we really have a look at it, once again, probably slightly on the flimsy side for a beginner locomotive. Now what's interesting to note that for a beginner locomotive, we've got these kind of couplings, which as we know are close couplings or professional couplings because they're a lot harder to just uncouple with your fingers and require a coupling pole or a coupler track, which is a very interesting choice, especially once you show you later how this doesn't actually benefit the model at all. Well, as we can see here, it's got this funny symbol again, which seems to have no function, and headlights at both the front and the back. Can we switch on and off and change the direction of travel. Now Marklin said it's got a special motor, and I have a feeling it's some weird 5-pole can, I don't know what it is, combination. But it runs very silently, but also very slowly, a bit like Percy. This is it on half speed. You can see that it makes very little noise, which is good. So it is a basic locomotive in this sense. But also remember, it does come with a stock digital decoder, so it can be used with all Marklin digital and analog products. However, this is not where it gets interesting. Where it gets interesting is the next part. Okay, folks, now where to start? I can't show you at the moment because I've changed it by slightly adjusting this bit here by filing it away. However, notice how there are 2 of these little cylinder things at the bottom. Now when the locomotive, as we can see, is going round the bend, the locomotive wheel has to turn in. And if we look on the other side, we can see that the wheel is very close here. And so what actually happens when we first purchased the model was this front wheel would catch and actually stop spinning as it went around the corner. Which is why in later releases, Marklin actually released this with only 1 of these cylinders. However, this year, they've changed their mind and put 2 back. Which is sort of odd when you think about it. Now the second thing that's a fault about this locomotive is its ability to go over points. I'll show you. Going backwards over points is fine. However, if the locomotive is going forward, did you hear that click? Yes, that's right. That's the slider that picks up the electronic signals and power from the track, clicking against these electronic knobs here, meaning that the engine actually struggles, especially at low speeds, to go around points. Now, this doesn't actually happen when you first get the locomotive. It only happens as you start to use it. For some reason, something must bend out of shape, I don't know. Here, I'll show you again. At a very slow speed setting. Watch this. And then it's fine. However, if we keep going through this one, dodgy bit of track, hang on. Fine again. What is going on? It seems that only certain points in certain directions actually trigger that reaction. So that's even more weird. And then we can see that these close couplings at the front don't actually work being close. Look, I'll go get some of my close coupling carriages and here we go, some close coupling coaches. And now we can see how close they really are. Look at those buffers and those buffers. And that's exactly the problem. My other close coupling locomotives, like these ones, have the coupling out extended far away from the actual buffers. This locomotive, however, doesn't. And at the back, that's not a problem. But at the front, well, let's have a look. Go slowly. Watch the buffers. As we can see, as it goes around the corner, bam, the buffers are locked. Now, in this situation, it's okay. However, if we start to increase the speed of the locomotive, there you go, the train just derailed, pushed off by the carriage in front of it. And that's precisely what I'm talking about. These couplings will not space out the right interval, and it's also especially strange, seeing that, as we can see here, this type of coupling is very difficult to couple to this kind of coupling. These couple extremely well with themselves, these couple extremely well with themselves, but not together. Which is why it's odd that the rolling stock that comes with this has these couplings, which is natural because, of course, they're from a junior range, so they have these easier to uncouple couplings here with the big sort of hooky thingy on them. And then to combine it with a locomotive that could very easily be fitted with those, but isn't. And so therefore, not only is it more difficult to couple the train to the trucks, but just to couple this train to any of the beginner trucks that a beginner would be buying. So as you can see, that's 3 points in which this locomotive just fails. So is it worth buying? So there we go. We've seen what this locomotive does and what it doesn't do. So would I recommend you to buy it? Well, to be honest, no. That starter set, yeah, it's good, and I'll show you the controller it comes with when I do the controller section of this review later on. But for all the problems it's had, in fact, this is my second version of the locomotive. I got my first one traded in because of that problem with the points, and it just come back, showing it's obviously just a manufacturing default, not a defect with my particular model. So I would not recommend you buy this. I recommend if someone wants to buy a starter set, to get a bigger starter set with a mobile station, so you can really get into model railroads, or to get a simpler locomotive. And if you like this locomotive, buy a version that has this, because Marklin makes many other versions by themselves, or as part of a train pack. There's actually one in green, which I think is really cool, from the French railways, but that's something else. And so in my next review, I'll be looking at the last locomotive I received, except for the ice, which is this Haribo. And as you'll see, this once again has a colourful history behind it, but also some very interesting design features. And we're going to start seeing how Marklin can really be a bit of a cheater to the details. That's all from now from TrainzXtreme.